Oil or kerosene, that's not a bright light. So the solution to that problem is you got to go to France, you got to buy one of these expensive Fresnel lenses, they're called, spelled Fresnel, but pronounced Fresnel. They're expensive and they're hard to maintain. But they've come up with a way to make a gas that burns so hot you can cut steel with it. It burns so bright it'll blind you. I'm talking about acetylene gas. I was amazed to learn that back then and today the way you make acetylene gas is you take limestone, calcium carbonate, and you cook it to 2,000 degrees Celsius. So it's not calcium carbonate anymore, it's calcium carbide. And you put calcium carbide in water and you get acetylene gas. It's that simple. Cook limestone, turn it into calcium carbide, add water, acetylene gas. So for a period of time they're sending miners down in the mines with cans of calcium carbide. It's nothing more than cooked limestone because their lanterns consisted of a simple affair like this one. You put your cooked limestone down in the lower compartment. Up above here, you open this up and you fill it full of water. And then when you set the drip valve, which I think it's empty, if I had water in here, I'd get some water. There's a drop or two coming out of there. As the water drips on the calcium carbide, gas starts to build up in this chamber. It then finds its way up this spindle and out this orifice, and when you hit the spark, boom, you've got a bright light using acetylene gas, which is nothing more than cooked limestone and water. This was so useful, this gas, for a period of time. They were even using it inside of theaters for stage lighting. That's where that term standing in the limelight came from, because back then everybody knew this was a light made from limestone. That's kind of the big moment in my presentation. That's where I get you your money's worth for making it out here, okay? Yeah, now you know where standing in the limelight came from. But the problem back in those days also was that if you tried to store too big of a container of it, they were blowing up, especially if you put it in metal containers. The pressure would build up, they were volatile, and people are dying on a regular basis. Along comes this that famous Swedish inventor we all learned about in high school, Niels Gustav Dalen. Yeah, right. Niels Gustav Dalen. He's actually a national hero today in Sweden. He's their version of our Thomas Edison. He figures out a way to store large quantities of acetylene gas in metal containers, and they're never going to blow up on you again. And that was just the first step, and a bigger problem he's trying to solve. He wants to build a gas valve for acetylene gas that you could just put out here, and that valve sits there, and when the sun goes down and the air cools, the valve opens up and allows gas to flow to the little pilot light that's always on. And in the morning, when the air starts to warm up a little bit, that valve closes, conserving the fuel supply till the next night. He starts experimenting with shiny metal rods and dark metal rods, and pretty soon he's perfected a valve. It's working so well that when he patents it in 1906, the governments all along the coastlines of Europe, they're using his valve to automate all these remotely located lighthouses. And if you don't think this was a big deal, they thought it was such a big deal back then. He gets the Nobel Prize for inventing this valve in 1912.
Wow.
4 years later, one of his valves is out here on Charity Island, and this becomes an automated lighthouse in 1917.
That's cool.
And then when I read down to the next paragraph, I can't believe this guy's luck. Must have been a big important time for him. He's 48 years old. It's 30 days before that ceremony, the Nobel Prize, where he's going to gain international recognition and a lot of money for his hard work and his genius. 30 days before, and there's an accident in the laboratory. The gas explodes in his face, and he's permanently blinded at age 48 years old. And he's at 30 days from being recognized internationally for bringing a reliable light source to all these dangerous dark coastlines at night. And he's permanently blinded at 48. It's just a very ironic story. But his genius, his hard work found its way all the way out to Charity Island. So we like to share that story with people when they get out here. And now we got an automated lighthouse. It's 1917. Shortly after that, the federal government decides, hey, we don't need to own this whole island. We'll just keep the tower. Because what we're going to do is come out here, hook up tanks of acetylene gas and use this valve. We don't need those guys anymore. So they draw a line right between the house and the tower, and they put the rest of the island up for sale. The story in the New York Times says that the men and women that got off the Econo that night, the women stayed at the lightkeeper's house. The men were put in the fishing huts on the south end of the island where they got blankets and food to last until help reaches them. Because the Gillingham Fishing Company was using the island as a base. Back in those days, your rights to be a commercial fisherman were tied to how much land you owned on the bay. Bayport Fishing Company owned that little island over there, and for almost 60 years there was a building over there, a two-story building, The men slept upstairs, ate their meals downstairs, and you guys went right by that building. You know what I'm talking about over there? So in a typical day for these guys, they go out after breakfast, they're going to pull the nets, the fish they bring back to the islands, they pack them in salt, and they put them in wooden barrels. And then every third or fourth day, they would bring tender boats out, pick up the fish-laden barrels, bring them in empty barrels of salt. And now Gillingham just learns the federal government is putting this island up for sale. He doesn't want to get kicked off here. He's been leasing the fishing rights. He's got an opportunity to own them. He goes down, submits a bid for $7,000. And then he's hearing rumors other people are bidding on his island. So he can't sleep at night. He's got to fix this. He goes back, he submits a new bid for $20,250, and he becomes the new owner of all of Big Charity Island in 1925 for $20,250. I wonder how he felt when he learned his $7,000 was the high bid. And then he outbid himself, went up to $20,250. Yeah, true story. So now this island's gone from being state-owned, then it's federally owned, and now it's privately owned. And then real quick, you jump to 1937. There's a better source of powering these lighthouses. It's electricity. And rather than run the electric cable 7 miles from the end of that tip of that point over there, Point Lookout, they're just going to go 3.5 miles offshore, and they're going to build a lighthouse right out in the bay next to the shipping channel. Looks like a big spark plug out there. Takes them 2 years to build that. When they hit the switch, it's working fine. That's when they came out here and they turned this lighthouse off. And it's been out of service since '39. And then by the 60s, the Gillinghams have sold the island to a group of investors out of Saginaw. And they learned shortly after they pay $160,000 for the island, the one little piece they don't own and control, the federal government's just put it up for sale. It's in the 60s now, okay? And these guys decide $5,000 will absolutely guarantee that they'll own even that piece. But they learned when the bidding's all done, somebody bid $15,250. Attorney out of Flint, Michigan. And so now even the tower's privately owned at that point. I come along in 1989, make an offer to buy the island, subject to me getting permits to build a marina. I'm going to do a real estate project. Oh, it's real simple. I'm just going to create 12 building sites over here and 12 building sites over here. I know I need a harbor if I want to get the kind of money I'm asking for them. So I'll build a marina and I'll put it centrally located to all the building sites. And it's gonna go out this way because it's shallow for almost a mile out. It's only 2 to 3 feet of water out there. And these guys took my offer. Now I've got a couple of years to work on getting permits to build this marina. And when I submit my application to the federal government, they tell me that they're going to try and work with me. But here's a list of a dozen endangered species you're going to have to look for out there. And it was bugs and birds and plants and flowers. And I got to hire entomologists, botanists, biologists, serpentologists. I got to look for snakes. And I work through the issues. I find out I got a rare plant growing over here on the endangered species list, but it wasn't going to affect our project to any great extent. And then I get a letter from the state of Michigan. Mr. Wilson, we just come across the Historic Preservation Office has brought a letter to our attention. A man named Don Simons, an archaeologist, was out on Charity Island in the 60s, found evidence of extensive stone tool manufacturing going on Charity Island. For that reason, our best advice if you want to proceed is you're going to have to hire a team of archaeologists at your own expense and do an archaeological phase 1 and phase 2 survey at Big Charity Island, after which we'll have to sit down and talk about how you may have to modify your project in order to mitigate any damage you might be doing to what might be an important Michigan cultural resource. And I hired a team of archaeologists and we went through all that work, and that's when I learned all this limestone out here on Charity Island is full of flint. See that piece in there? And because it was so easy to get at for Native Americans, they were coming out here in groups of 300 to 500 people a year, season after season, to make stone tools. And the beauty of it was for those people, they didn't have to quarry the flint out of the limestone. After those glaciers backed off and filled these basins up with water, we've had storms out of the northeast pounding on that side of the island. It's been eroding this soft limestone, freeing up. Now, why do they keep moving where's my big rock at, Tom? You see it anywhere? Oh, there it is. Here it is. No, this one here. What I thought was amazing was the flint comes in almost perfectly round shapes. From the size of golf balls up to bowling ball size. And the beauty of it was that the wave action has been eroding the soft limestone, freeing up these almost perfectly round flint nodules. So all Native Americans have to do is wade out into ankle deep water, and you can literally gather up all these round rocks you want. And when you shatter them open, you'll see that this darker material, it's a form of flint. And just by chipping away at it, you can make razor sharp flakes will come off of this, which is much different from other types of rocks. And so we agreed to do all kinds of archaeological digging from the tree line back to where you guys got off the boat, where I'm going to dig my marina. We worked through all the issues. I got a permit. I'm going to build, and I get my marina built. It's late in the season. I'm not going to have any sales take place till next summer, and I got all winter to think about the fact that after 3 years, I've got an amazing island. I got endangered plants, 3 bald eagles nests. I got this archaeological site. This half of the island, no matter where you stick a shovel, you're going to come up with the remains of tool making that went on out here for almost 2,000 years. If you'd been out here when the archaeologists were here working, if you walked up behind them, a lot of this dark brown stained stuff is, these are the chips, the remains of tool making. And the darker they are, the longer they are in the dirt. So some of them might have been out there for 14, 1,500 years. People trying to live off the land using this material. So as I'm thinking about this stuff that winter, I realized, you know, this really shouldn't be, this island shouldn't be about a real estate project. It should be about people coming out here and seeing the place. It's an interesting place to visit, and that would be a better future than a bunch of homes out here. But I got a problem. I got investors involved. We spent about $1.5 million worth of money, and I did a lousy job picking my parents when I was born. I couldn't go to my dad and ask for $1 million because I know he doesn't have it. So I thought, well, maybe the state of Michigan would be interested with all this information. Now they could buy it as a park, and I'll keep the 5.5 acres for my reward for working.